It is tomorrow, and here we are, doing the Spinosaurs. Wait a second, something's wrong here. Hold the phone. That Spinosaur should not have such pathetic health. That's pretty much going up against the whole point of this video. Much better. Okay, so let's skip the intro and jump right into it. We're doing Spinosaurs, and right off the bat, you can see. So this is another one I've done in the past, but I'm redoing now, and you can already spot the key difference. Right now, it's still okay. So first of all, I boosted your damage back to. Can I? Okay, hold on. Okay, I typed in spine. I typed in spin, and this is already most of the dinosaurs I'm going to be covering today. Starting with the Spino. First things first, it still has the rending, because I still want Spinosaurs to be a very heavily based on percentage based. But on that video, someone commented, I can't show it anymore because, you know, channel's gone and all, but he commented that having Spinosaurs with, like, only 100 attack is cursed. Especially since it'll, like, put it at a disadvantage for creatures with rend and bleed resistance. But, which unlike Ludia, I'm listening. I've taken that into consideration. Although for me, I don't really think that's, I can look at it this way, because Spinosaurus is a rare, and there aren't that many rares that have good resistances, and those that are, well, they're mostly cunning. So then, like, the point was, this thing will be really good against resilience, but then not too great against cunnings, which can resist this stuff. But, like, I can see that would be a very sucky situation to have, like, something that's completely, you come in, they come in with a Velociraptor, and you're like, oh dang, my Spinosaurus is completely useless in this scenario. So I've made a few changes. One thing I found out, like, I've decided to make it the opposite of the Rhamphorhynchoids, where they are also filling in as bleeders, but they also have they basically have the same issues. The only difference is that Spinosaurs are made to be, I've made it so Spinosaurs can be a lot tankier, but slower, while these guys prioritize speed and a lot less health. Also, a lot more like a few more better resistances, and a lot more utility in their abilities, like better wounding obstruction, swap and wound, and even, like, you know, you've seen that video. You can go check that out to get a more in-depth talk about that. Which I have done here. I've boosted the health of this regular Spinosaurus. Still has the same basic damage. Actually, no, I've boosted it back to 1,000, which it was before 100. Why? Because I added a new ability, because again, I took that comment into consideration, and I made some changes to the Spinosaurus. Eat your heart out, Ludia. I actually listened to my comments. Fierce Wound. Let's see. This one is basically, you can read it here. It basically does the same thing as most Fierce abilities. Which I've also reworked. It follows the logic of my Fierce Strike. Cleanse Vulnerable. Increase critical chance by 10% for 2 turns to attacks. Increase damage by 10% for 2 turns to attacks. Remove Taunt, Break Shields, Bypass Armor, Attack times 1, and then damage over time for, like, a lethal wound, but only for 2 turns. That is basically how I've... Why is it only targeting the lowest HP? That should be the highest. I'm gonna fix that later, whatever. Anyway, that's basically the major change I made, as well as boosting their health, because they need it. That's basically a problem that I didn't see until I saw Albertospinos, which is basically that Spinosaurs, they need to be able to stay in long enough for these bleeds to take effect, and the Spinosaurus did not have that. So I boosted its health, so that now it'll outlast, because normally what happens, you come in, you'd get the bleed on the Resilient, but the Resilient usually gets to kill you before you get to kill it. And with this health boost, that should be able to change. I should be able to kill... Spinosaurus should be able to kill Diplodocus before Diplodocus kills it. Now we move on to Suchomimus, which is about the same, actually. I don't think I gave you any changes. Maybe I boosted your damage? Well, that's pretty much all I did for Suchomimus. It's still got Lethal Wound, Fierce Strike, and no escape. So, yeah. Spino Gen 2, also, I forgot to mention, I'm not doing Suchotator. That thing is perfect. No changes needed for that at all. Spinosaurus Gen 2 boosted health by a lot. Cleansing Minor Rending Attack, sorry. Fierce Wound, you've already read that. And Rending Takedown. So, yes. Yes, that is Spinosaurus Gen 2. It still has the rending, but now it has a chance to deal regular damage, as well as inflicting a bleed, and breaking shields, and cleansing vulnerable, which is something I failed to compensate for last time, because it had all these special abilities, but no way of cleansing any of its debuffs, so yeah. For some reason, Spinotahraptor, it basically had, like, terrible amounts of health, so I boosted it. I could boost it a little more, but I think I'm okay with leaving it at this much, because it does have a little more damage. As well as like Fierce Strike, Lethal Rend, Distracting Impact, Critical Rampage over Critical Impact. Don't know why they remove your critical abilities when your hybrid gets to keep it. But anyway, here we go. Small Distraction Resistance, which is okay, I guess. Again, I could give this thing a bit more of a buff, but I think I'm happy with the way it is right now. Another thing I want to mention, you can think that you're better than Spinosaurus, but I see through you. Spinotahraptor is not the same as Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus supremacy! Now we get on to the only legendary... No, wait, no, there's another one. There's Spinonix, but I'm not touching that one either because I think that one's also pretty okay. Maybe just a damage boost. That's pretty much all it needs to be better. Which, that's really not worth throwing it in here for. But Spinotahraptor, why is your stats are not looking too good? One moment. Whew, there we go. Okay. I boosted up its stats a lot better. So now it's a lot better. Okay, that was good. One thing I don't understand, like, obviously, no, I don't know what I was gonna say. Okay, you only had swap preventation, but I added some better resistances depending on this dude. And you lost your distraction resistance because you're fully fierce, even though well, I guess that's okay for this. Still not the best thing, but, it's better now. It stands a bit more of a fighting chance. It has enough health to like tank up hits so that it can let that bleed really settle in. And now for my spirit animal, which I was very disappointed about. Yet for some reason, people still want to level up this thing. I don't get it. Like everyone voted for Spinosaurus and Caprosuchus and Spinotahraptor to be in the event, despite the fact that Albertospinos isn't very good. Maybe they see something in it that I don't? Because really, I don't see anything in it. Anyway, I have given it a bit of a change. Actually, a bit of a big change. Because as I said before, the problem was that it didn't have enough bulk to like let the bleed really settle in. Nor did it have enough damage to like compensate for its, to better complement its really good abilities. Not to mention, it didn't have a good turn 1 ability. Well, it had one good turn. It made it too predictable, basically. So I changed Rampage to Impact. And that would give it a bit more of a fighting chance. So then it basically, like the benefit of a Raptor, that's the benefit of Albertosaurus. You can swap between Impact, Instinct, Impact, Instinct, Impact, Instinct. And you can just keep doing that until you're out of HP, or you want to get out of there, Lethal Swoop. And that's basically all I did to change it. I also changed its critical chance, because it was just pathetic that this thing had a good critical chance, and it went all the way down just because of this and this. That's all. I also replaced Swap In Shattering Wound with just regular Swap In Wound because all these abilities that deal damage break shields anyway. So that move is redundant. That move was redundant. So that's basically what I like to do. I like to look at creatures that have just some sort of redundancy and then just remove those redundancies and replace them with something else. And that's basically all I did to Albertospinos. I could have opted for leaving your attack the same and just giving you a lot more health, but I decided to find a nice in-between. Oh, good lord, I nearly forgot about my original creation, Spinopastega. I don't think I've changed a thing about this dude, but here we go. Here are all of its abilities, Spinosaurus and Apatosaurus, good lord. There's the picture, burn it in hell, please. But it's not as horrifying as this. Spinopatodon. Holy moly. Whew, okay, anyway, what do you have? You're the Group Shatterer, you have Mutual Fury, Lethal Wound, all the good... No resistances, which is strange. Daeodon has resistances, so why didn't I give... never mind. You're already pretty powerful enough as is, so... Yeah, this is like meant to be a very simple unique, nothing too dangerous. And then Spinopastega as well, which basically just takes one ability from each class. Resilient, Fierce, and Cunning. As well as having Wild Strike in the middle. A nice introductory type of creature. Ichthyostega, hey! I'll be covering you one day. Medium nullifying counter, swap and invincibility, no escape. A bit outdated, nothing new, no new abilities here except for Wild Strike. But you've seen Wild Strike before, I think. It's basically like the ultimate ability. But anyway, that's all for my made-up hybrids. Now there's only one more thing to show. Wait, did I show you the picture? Here's the picture. Holy smokes, it's derpy. I love him and hate him at the same time. This dude does not have a drawing yet, but I guess he counts as a Spinosaur hybrid, so there he is, Spinovanix. He's still in beta testing though, so it's gonna be a while before he's ready to like... I'll get into more in-depth detail with him when I eventually cover the Oviraptors. And finally, one of my favorite Apex designs. Well, not really, because all the Beyblade ones are my favorite. But here's Soul Solvent, basically a sun-themed Spinosaurus. And here, there's his artwork. He looks fantastic. Here are his abilities. Basic damage, basic good speed, lots of health. Because he's supposed to be tanky. He needs to be able to tank up hits to let these bleeds come into play. I gave him... This is literally his only real damaging ability. Everything else is just a rend, which he has a lot of. And then after that, he's got a lot of bleeding abilities. I've tested this thing against Hadros Lux, and he can kill Hadros in like one turn if he's lucky. So that's like, he's like a very dangerous, he's supposed to be the ultimate danger to resilience. And there his description. Soul Solvent is rumored to be a regular Spinosaurus that was naturally born with special colors and sails. Others believe that this creature was the result of overexposure to radiation. I should have specified. Ultraviolet radiation. But, you know, it's fine. Actually, no. Ultraviolet isn't really harmful to reptiles. But then, is Spinosaurus more bird or is it more lizard? No, it's not lizard, sorry, more reptile. But then birds are reptiles. So then, is ultraviolet bad for them? A lot of specifics in the dinosaur family tree that I'll never understand unless I dedicate my life to paleontology. And then I won't be able to, but then if I do that, I'll never be able to look at a single Jurassic World movie without feeling triggered, because once I become a paleontologist, then I'll know everything that's wrong with the dinosaurs, even little stuff that normally wouldn't bother me. Like for now, the Pyroraptor looks amazing, but if I become a paleontologist, then the Pyroraptor will look lame because apparently its facial features are wrong? I don't know, it's like complicated stuff. The more you know about something, the less fun other things become. Like example, I watch a lot of movies, and now suddenly, well, no, that's not the same example. It's actually, that kind of had the reverse effect, where I like, ever since I found out how hard it is to become an animator, I've had a greater appreciation for animation, and pretty much a lot of movies in general. So that's why it's really hard for me to find a movie that I dislike, because I just like a lot of movies. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much it. Soul Solvent, and tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to be covering, but it's going to be something I've covered in the past. And then after that, episode 14, Velociraptors. I'll see you then. Bye.